And we are live. That's my fault. That's my fault. See, Joe, it's always my fault in the morning. No technical difficulties. I don't know why. Producer, help a brother out over here. Okay, but we are live. Joseph, what's happening, brother? What's going on?
I'm juiced up after watching the new intro you just played. And
yeah.
I think you got a good excuse for being distracted, or maybe it was our producer being distracted. But regardless, man, that got me juiced up. I'm ready to rock and talk about week 5 of college football after that.
Yeah, hey, look, listen. So this will be since we've been back. Okay, since I've been back doing this full time, this will be my 554th straight episode.
Wow.
Okay, AYS, SEC, all of it. Okay. So, with that being said, every single time we have an intro, every single time, I get goosebumps, man. I freaking love college football. Don't get me wrong. I love the NFL too. But it's Separation Saturday, Joe. Separation Saturday in the SEC. Separation Saturday in the Pac-12. If you watched late last night with UCLA clapping, bro, and I'm talking about absolutely dog whipping Washington, a top 15 team. This is where I always make this argument, Joe. October the 1st, which is today, is always the first separation. Then you have the third week in October. That is the second separation. And then the second weekend in November, which ultimately divides everything from college football from a conference alignment aspect. You see, because you can't get around what teams will be in the middle of the pack, the teams up top and the teams on the bottom. That's when you start separating themselves. And I really think, Joe, today is one of those massive Saturdays that we have.
Yeah, and we've got the big thing here for the SEC matchups, the 2 games that we have, Arkansas versus Alabama, Ole Miss versus Kentucky. We're going to get that real separation. We're going to get to see how things are going to stack up. And then you look across the rest of the landscape of these other conferences. I'm really looking forward to that Baylor-Oklahoma State game because, like,
I am too.
I've got so many questions about Oklahoma State. I don't think they're legit. I think they're going to look silly today against Baylor because they haven't beaten anybody, and they've been talked up over a Kansas team that's 4-0. That's a separate issue.
Hey, I told you last week.
I've been saying it too.
Kansas, they're no longer a basketball school. Bill Self getting in level 1 infractions. Hey.
They're giving Kentucky a run for their money for being a dual edge basketball and football program. They're starting to build up to that. But the other one too, the last one, that NC State Clemson game, that has a lot of implications on it. I have said this going into the week. That's like the big fraud game. Both those teams, I think, are frauds. I don't think either of them are good. And we're going to get to see who's the bigger fraud. But I'm hoping that there's some dissociation amongst the ACC. And I want Florida State to push above the rest of them because they actually look complete. But a lot of good games this weekend, as you said, Blake.
And a yes or no answer. I don't want to go into this deliberately.
Yeah.
I just want your opinion. I can't understand why people say this about Dabo. Is Dabo overrated? Yes or no?
I think he is. I think he's a little bit overrated.
Oh, my God.
Wait.
Log off.
Come on. Wait. I don't think that – I understand that he's won a national championship, but like –
He's won 2.
He feels like one of those – here. Yes, I understand that. He feels like one of those coaches, though, that doesn't adapt and pivot because, like, that team hasn't been the same since the last time they won it.
This isn't Ross and Chandler moving a couch and Friends. Pivot. No. Bro, 2 natties.
I understand that 2 national championship games.
He's lost 3 games in 3 years so far.
Yeah, but they're playing in the ACC. Like, who are they competing against? Like, that's where I draw the line. Is that like the record is inflated?
Who did USC compete against in the pack when they were winning natties? Who was the best team out there? Oregon.
That's a fair point. That's a fair. I don't disagree with that. I understand and I agree that the I'm talking about like right now. If we're talking about like legacy, yes, the 2 national championship games, he's a great coach. I just don't know as much right now if I'm willing to say that Clemson team is going to still get back to a national championship level. they can't figure out their coordinator situation. Like that's where I draw the line. I hate his unwillingness to go out and get outside candidates. Like he just keeps promoting from within, and like that's not always going to produce the best results. And we've seen struggles.
Yeah, ask Ed Orgeron.
Right. And they've had struggles, especially offensively. I know last weekend they had a huge output, but like Wake's secondary is not anything great. A lot of those points were at the very end of the game, and a lot of those yards came in overtime. So it's like I have always been unwilling to give Dabo credit recently. We're talking recently because of the whole coordinator crap and the unwillingness to maybe go out and get outside guys in the portal. It feels like he's coaching still in 2015, and he's not up with the current times with all the other things that are going on that he needs to get caught up with.
I will agree with you here. And we got to get to the Bet Online break.
Yeah.
I will agree with you here. He is stubborn, okay? But a lot of head coaches are stubborn.
Yeah.
Hey, you know who else didn't take anybody from the portal? Georgia. Okay.
Well, they didn't need to. They're one of the few teams that didn't need to.
Well, I can make the argument, did Clemson, because
that secondary needed some dudes.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I can make the argument that Georgia's linebackers, after Kent State was clapping those cheeks last week, they could have used somebody when Kobe Dean left. My point is, I just don't think you can call a coach overrated, regardless of what conference he's in, when you win 2 natties. And not only that, he beat Nick to do it, right? Like he beat Nick.
Yeah.
That's like saying let me ask you this, is Tom Coughlin overrated?
Well, I can't not answer that unbiasedly because I'm a Giants fan. I don't think
that's my point. That's my point. Okay. Is Tom Coughlin has the same kind of resume in a sense with 2 Super Bowl championships, right?
Yes.
Okay. This, my friend, is what you would call gotcha.
All right. I will concede a little bit. You did.
Okay.
A little bit.
All right. I got to be honest. I had no idea you were a Giants fan. But I think in my subconscious, I knew that you were. So that's where I was trying to lead with this. Okay.
It worked.
I'm sorry. I came for violence this morning. You're probably going to clap at me, and I deserve every bit of it.
I encourage it. You woke me up. I was dragging ass a little bit. I was hurting this morning because I drank a little too much last night, but you woke me up.
Oh, no. You drank too much? No way.
That's shocking.
I'm not going to lie. Bro, I had a beer and a half last night. And I was losing. That's how tired I was.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat.
It got so bad. I was watching Washington get their teeth kicked in by UCLA. It was insane. All right, Joe, let's do this, though, very quickly, and let's get this thing rolling. Everybody do it. Look, listen. Stop, collaborate, and listen. All of you right now need to hit this like and share. I'm going to do it again. Anybody that shares this stream right now will go in a drawing for an AYS shirt. Sounds good? Now you need to get your Rudy Poo self sharing this link. Share it to those Facebook groups. Subscribe if you're on Bleav, YouTube, AYS, YouTube, all that good stuff. If you're listening on the audio podcast platform, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff as well. All right, Joe, let's pay some bills very quickly. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag, our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons. We return in 1 minute and 30 seconds. We got so much to talk about with this separation. Are we going to call this show Separation Saturday?
Yeah, I think that's very appropriate. That's what we should be calling it.
Separation Saturday, part 1. It's like Harry Potter. You got 75 parts. Be right back. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events, with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code Bleav50, that's Bleav50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. With over 65 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. If you break down the side of the road in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and get you. And the best thing about that is that they can come and get you, and then they can bring your vehicle back to their shop and start the repairs right then. Again, GM Varno & Sons. Go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard. Give them a call at 225-664-9992. 225-664-9992. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. We do need to talk about this LSU Auburn beef. Okay, that's how I want to start this off, Joe. And we'll go around a lot of the SEC in our intro, but we do have an announcement. You ready?
Oh.
Yes. All right. So Coach Jason Brown will be joining us at 10:30. That's our special guest. We'll kick it around with him and some special guests. Porter Hayes, my good buddy, who's from the Hawg Talk podcast, will be joining us at 9:30. Jenna Drinks at 9:44 or 9:45, I should say. Brad Logan at 10 a.m. and Vinny Hardy at 10:15. We'll talk a lot of college football with these great guests and our co-host and our guest colleagues from Bleav who will be joining us here today. Joe, let me start off here. I don't know if you saw this, but I want to get to this LSU Auburn game very quickly. So listen to this. Every away team in the SEC this week outside of South Carolina was an away team, every ranked opponent in the SEC that is the higher ranked opponent is on the road. Kentucky, okay, they're higher ranked than Ole Miss. Alabama, obviously over Arkansas, being the number 2 team in the country. Number 17, A&M on the road against Mississippi State. Higher ranked LSU, not in the top 25, goes to Auburn. Georgia, number 1 team in the country, goes to Missouri. And then those are the teams that are trying to battle it out in the separation this weekend to separate themselves in the SEC. I want to kick this to LSU Auburn right quick. Former LSU wide receiver Coy Moore had some very choice words and then got absolutely roasted by Barstool LSU. Sucking on a popsicle, I guess. The trash talk between LSU and Auburn right now is absolutely insane. He said he was the best receiver in that room. That's not why he transferred. He was forced to transfer. I'm going to leave that alone for right now. When you see a game like this, Joe, with a struggling Auburn, Brian Harsin potentially could be fired, with the LSU team that somewhat people think is emerging right now under Brian Kelly, what do you look for in this game?
Yeah, I got to say that the weird rivalry that was spurred up over the week, it's goofy. It's like, why is this
goofy?
Why is this suddenly so, such a big deal when we realize that one team has looked a full head better than the other? I don't think this is going to be that competitive of a matchup at all. And to be fair, this could be a trap game for LSU if they look past them and just kind of look at Auburn and say like, oh, they've looked like crap this season. We're gonna go out there and dog them. But at the same time, like, nothing that Auburn has done has really enticed me to think that they can show up and be competitive. That whole receiver thing that you're talking about, I honestly just credit that to the hubris of receivers. We both played and we both know that every receiver thinks that they're the greatest thing that has touched God's green earth, that they think that they're so unstoppable and that they're the best player on every roster that they're on. And he hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything to justify that statement. It's just an asinine comment for him to make. And we all know any rational human being that isn't completely full of themselves like he is knows that Kayshon Boutte is way better than he is. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. He is going to be, possibly at a Jamar Chase, T. Higgins type level, early impact, Justin Jefferson type level impact for any roster that he joins early on. But no, it's just, goofy crap that the guy was still there before, and he's probably very butthurt that he's leaving. He left a program that is on the rise to go to a team that's about to fire its head coach.
I will say this. I didn't say it during the week. I was saving it for the SEC channel. LSU losing to Auburn last year is the reason why Orgeron got fired. Because if Orgeron would have beaten Auburn, they go into Kentucky. There's still only one loss. Maybe he gets fired after Kentucky, but then they follow back the next week and they beat Florida. You're getting to a point where he's 5-2, 6-2. I don't know if Orgeron gets – if you could justify paying $17 million guaranteed to Ed Orgeron to fire him when he's 5 or 6-2.
Mm-hmm.
In 2016, Les Miles was fired after losing to Auburn. This game is a very weird thing for LSU fans, a very weird thing for Auburn fans, because now it's starting to turn the tide for them. If they lose today, and look, I talked to a lot of Auburn fans. They want Brian Harsin out just so they can just start over and get things new. But I'm going to tell you this. I don't think schematically Brian Harsin is too West Coast. He's too Boise State. You cannot line up in 12 personnel, dual tight ends, 12 personnel, dual tight ends, or doubles is what we would call them from offensive line perspective. Joe, you can't line up in 12 personnel and run the football unless you got Georgia-level recruits, Georgia-level offensive line, and it's not working for him. I believe that if LSU was looking forward this week to Auburn, through Auburn, to look to Tennessee next week, you done messed up now because you pissed off that offense. I do believe LSU has a unique advantage because here's the thing, Joe. If they do beat Auburn this week, Brian Kelly's going to have a ranked LSU team. And I think it starts getting the monkeys off of his back a little bit to say, hey, listen, I'm still a really damn good coach, okay? It doesn't matter next week, Joe, from the long, landscape of things, if Brian Kelly beats Tennessee, because it's still year one. But to get them where they are right now, if they win today on the road, I think it's going to be a big accomplishment for Brian Kelly to get some of those monkeys off his back. Do you agree?
Yeah, I completely agree. And this is like a must-win. Obviously, any weekend's a must-win. But for what you're saying with Brian Kelly, to properly credit himself and also show up and say, like, hey, we need to start putting myself in the conversation as one of the best coaches in the SEC. And I am not willing to put him there yet, but this puts him in the wheels start turning. Yeah, the wheels start turning for that conversation. And it's going to be a long road for them to finish this season out with like a really good record. They're, like you talked about, like the Tennessee game is the next big hurdle that they're going to face. They have to play Alabama. Like those are going to be difficult games for them to win as any game in the SEC. But this really helps his case. But I think for Brian Kelly, though, you can't come out and win this game by like 1 or 2 scores. Like you got to come out and wax them. You got to come out and completely knock the crap out of them. And it's a really good point that you made about how like Harsin's coming out in 12 personnel. And I think that fully plays into the false hubris that this Auburn team has, where they think that they can just do whatever they want and Harsin can do whatever he wants with his coaching philosophy and then it's going to work. Tank Bigsby's not going to have any room to run if that's what they're going to do this week. But no, I think that Kelly's got to come out and knock him around. What do you think about the Robbie Ashford quote that was out there? Is that real? I saw that on Twitter.
I don't know. I went back.
The weird graphic. It didn't look real.
Yeah, so I went back and listened to Robbie Ashford this week, and I went back and looked at it, and I couldn't find it, so I didn't really talk about it. I will tell you, as most people know, we cover LSU, or I cover LSU. The one thing for me is that he scares me the most because, listen, Auburn was a lot of the same last year, and Bo Nix literally was running circles in the backfield, and LSU couldn't bring him down. I will tell you this. I don't know how much Brian Kelly has to motivate this team. I think they're pissed off from a season ago. It got their 100%. Head coach fired. And listen, Penn State is a good team. I think they have the number 1 corner in the country right now. I forget the young man's name. Who's the corner at Penn State, number 1?
I'm going to look it up because I know exactly who you're talking about.
But regardless, Penn State is not as athletic to me defensively as LSU is. They're just not. But Penn State has a little bit more speed than what Auburn did. Okay, my whole thing is if LSU plays discipline, if they play Brian Kelly level football, I think that they can wax Auburn. It does worry me though, because look, when you go to Jordan Hare and you go to Auburn, goofy things happen, especially goofy things happening at night. So I will say this, just in tradition, like LSU's won national titles and beaten Auburn by 3. A bad Auburn team. I don't think that this would be a indication of anything of Brian Kelly. He just needs to come out with a win for me.
Yeah.
First SEC road game, get a win. But I will tell you this, and look, I know that I'm going to sound biased. If they win today and they go ranked, I'm gonna be a motherfucker. Excuse my language, but I'm gonna be okay, because all offseason he took a lot of shit. So now you sit and God and Joe, so help me. If Florida State wins and beats Wake Forest and they're 5-0 and LSU's only loss is to a potential ACC champion, oh my God, I am going to just be unbearable all week. Because there comes a point where, like, man, give the man some credit. You know, like it's crazy to me. Let me ask you this, and last thing on LSU and Auburn. Do you think Brian Harsin is fired if he loses today?
I don't know. It feels like one of those circumstances, and I think AJ McCarron was the one who came out with this.
AJ McCarron said he was already told he was going to be fired, and then Auburn denied the claim.
Right. Like, I feel like he's already out the door and he's already been fired, like, internally or behind closed doors, and they're just asking him to, coach up for his resume so that he can get hired for a Group of 5 job. I don't know if this is the game that puts the nail in the coffin. The Missouri game was more of the nail, because Missouri is a dumpster fire right now and they're pretty sloppy. It's going to add fuel to the fire. I don't think they fire him right off the bat, because, like, what's their – I'm trying to think, like, what that – I'm unwilling to commit to that. I don't think that this is the game, because LSU realistically is significantly more is better than them.
I think the only reason that they do it is to get out in front of everybody and doing it, kind of like what LSU did last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, they had talked that. Look, I'll just say it now. I think it was week 8 that the talks with Brian Kelly, and so LSU had contacted Brian Kelly week 8, so we got this confirmed. Brian Kelly turned down LSU twice. Like, hey man, listen, I'm trying to play for a national title. No. And I think Brian Kelly, that last moment when he knew, and look, let's be honest, he knew that he wouldn't have left Notre Dame if they were getting in the playoff. I fully believe that. I fully believe that. I know for a fact he was told that they weren't going, and he made the decision. That's why he was already on the plane. My point is that you could pull something like that with Hugh Freeze or Lance Leipold. Okay, you could pull that if you fire. I don't think Hugh Freeze is coming back in the league, but you can pull that.
Do you think that's the direction that they go in?
I call Lance Leipold. Look, he is my number 1 coach this offseason. I don't think he's a fit for Auburn. I think that you need somebody like a Sam Pittman or Ed Orgeron who wants to challenge. Look, they're not going to succeed long term. You don't need to succeed long term. You need to go out there and out-recruit Nick Saban to some extent inside the state. Auburn has a vast wealth of money and talent that they can get. And when Auburn's right, Auburn's right. But it's the toughest job in the country, in my opinion.
I think if Leipold, wherever he's going to go, it's not going to be an SEC team. From his background, I think he's a Big Ten coach. I'm hoping he doesn't waste his time at Nebraska, because that team is just impossible to bring up, because nobody wants to go play Nebraska.
What about him at Kansas? I mean, Kansas isn't worse than Nebraska.
That's true, but my point is that, like, nobody wants to go play at Nebraska anymore. It's impossible, it feels like, to recruit guys, and that's the drawback. And if you're Leipold, you got to wait for if a Michigan comes open, which isn't going to happen, but we're just speaking hypothetically here. If like a Michigan came open or a Wisconsin came open, like, that makes more sense for a Leipold. I honestly think, and not to take us too far down on the coaching candidate rabbit hole, they got to call Dion. Like, people keep throwing Dion into the Georgia Tech ring, and I don't think that he's going to go to Georgia Tech. That doesn't feel like a mesh for me. I think a proper mesh is him going to Auburn. Like, that makes more sense than Georgia Tech.
I would call him. I would call Dion. All right, let's get past that. Let's talk about some Kentucky Ole Miss, and then we got about 3 minutes. Maybe we'll get Alabama, Arkansas before we get Porter Hayes in here. Listen, I know that we have Ole Miss fans in here already, and Brandy Blake being one of them. How do you feel about this Kentucky Ole Miss game? Because I will tell you, you talked about you don't know how to feel about Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to feel about Ole Miss. I know Kentucky's going to bully you a little bit and try to bully you. I don't know how to feel about Ole Miss. What says you about this game?
Kentucky to me is a little bit of a paper tiger because they've won games and they've got that impressive victory over Florida. And that feels like that's what we've been riding off of since that game for the perception of them. But you look at what they've done offensively, and they're kind of a hot mess right now. Their offensive line looks like crap. It's
The
not
interior is the worst in the SEC. It's not.
Yeah, they have one of the worst offensive lines in terms of sacks allowed, pressures. They have one of the worst offensive lines in the country in terms of rush yards per game, rush yards per attempt. Like, that's problematic. And I know that you're getting Chris Rodriguez back, but like, I don't think that does a whole lot with all those offensive line issues. I think that Kentucky, paper tiger, like, I think that they're very, very fake based on the perception that we've just built up from that Florida game. But the problem is exactly what you said. I don't know how good Ole Miss is. They haven't played anyone. They were donking around trying to figure out who the starting quarterback was going to be, and it feels like they wasted opportunities for Jackson Dart to get into a rhythm. And this is the first game that he's getting that opportunity to do it. So I'm it's tricky for me to commit, but I lean Ole Miss in this game because I'm very, very afraid of that Kentucky offensive line. And when they played Florida, Florida doesn't really have, as you know, a very good pass rush. Like, that's why Will Levis played a good enough game for them to win. I think Ole Miss is going to come out a little bit more aggressively in this game.
Actually, I lied. We'll talk about Porter Hayes with Alabama, Arkansas with Porter Hayes next.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kick that one. I agree with you on the Florida take because I thought Billy Napier got out coached. Okay, I think that Tennessee, Joe, there's some things in football like you got to get over the mental hump. I think that's what happened with Tennessee last week. It's a lot like LSU and Alabama. Like, LSU always has the talent to beat them. They just mentally can't ever get over the hump. I agree, though. Kentucky physically beat down Florida, though. And look, their interior from a pass rush offensive line is horrendous. But once that running game gets going, it gets going. They got some speed on the outside, too. I don't know how good Ole Miss's defense is. When you're getting punched in the mouth by Tulsa, and look, Lane Kiffin said it obviously this week, guys, you don't show up, that makes our team not want to really give a shit anymore. You don't even show up for a Tulsa game. They're going to show up today, but bottom line is I see some. I want to lean Ole Miss, but if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I'm worried about Kentucky just punching me in the mouth. And if Kentucky does that, man. And let me say this, Stoops is the most underrated coach in the SEC, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. What he does defensively is so freaking good. Can he stop Lane? And I will tell you this, if they stop Lane today in that offense, we have to start talking about them being the second team in the SEC to make a playoff. Because, look, they're not going to win. They're not going to beat Georgia. They won't have to play an SEC title game. My point comes to all of this. I could see them being the second team in Alabama on the outside, just strictly due to Alabama doesn't look as good as these other teams do so far. I don't know how confident I feel about all that, but if they win today, you got to give them a lot of credit.
Yeah, and you get to throw on that ranked victory on your resume. But the one thing that's really interesting, it's easy to kind of sit here and speculate who's going to be in the playoff, but I always forget to take a look at the schedules. And you make a really good point that, like, Kentucky has the path that they don't have to play in the SEC championship game. They could very well set themselves up to be on the outside. I really like Tennessee, and I know that they've got a much more difficult schedule, and I fully take Tennessee over Kentucky in terms of competitive teams. They're a more complete team, but their schedule might not allow them to. That's the crazy thing. And part of the reason why I'm not a fan of the 4-team playoff is that we might lose out on the opportunity to see Tennessee this year. But yeah, no, I think that Kentucky very well has that opportunity. I just hope that if they are that 4th team, or maybe they're that 5th team, that they don't get punched in the mouth by Georgia and at the end of the season in the playoff.
I will say this, and we gotta circle back to this. Maybe we get it with Coach JB. We'll ask him about playoff expansion. Okay. As of Wednesday, the 12-team playoff, James Madison would have played Alabama.
Don't
Joseph,
sleep on the Dukes. Don't sleep on the Dukes.
Stop it. I know you're an FCS dude. I am too. Stop it. They would get obliterated in a playoff scenario. You know that, and I know that. Here's another thing, too. Washington would have played Tennessee. Washington doesn't deserve to play Tennessee after last night. I mean, dude, I was sitting there asking myself, is Chip Kelly back? They're 5-0. UCLA's 5-0. And at some point, we got to put some respect on their name. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole because I know we got Porter waiting.
We do.
I don't think he's back. I'll leave it at that.
So let's do this. Let's talk about our good friends over at Gramco. We return Alabama, Arkansas. Arkansas with a heartbreaker last week. Can they return the favor to Alabama? We talk about it next with Porter Hayes from the Hawg Talk. Guys, I've got to talk to you about our good friends over at Gramco. They are the Delta 8 company based out of the state of Florida. They're founded by college football junkies just like you and I am not sure if you're familiar with Delta 8, but you need to be. Gramco is the absolute leader in this field, and they have phenomenal products that I just need to tell you about. First off is the Wake and Bake coffee that is absolutely spectacular. The gummies are as well, as they're the best in the market. So go to thegramco.com right now and use the promo code AYS25. That's thegramco.com, AYS25 promo code to get 25% off of your order. Jump on this fast as it is perfect for holidays, anniversaries, and everyday use. Gramco is hemp-derived and completely legal inside of the state of Louisiana. No medical card is needed, and shipping is very discreet. You must be 21 years older to order. Again, that's thegramco.com. Use that promo code AYS25. All right, we are here with our good buddy Porter Hayes. Porter Hayes Sports and Culture, Sports Media. Porter, what's up, dude?
How's it going?
All right, I got to ask you. First off, you know I love you to death.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I say can and will not be used against me in the court of law. Do you promise?
I promise. I promise.
Okay. Buddy, talk to me. What's going to happen today?
You're going to hate this.
Oh
no.
Going with the upset.
Oh no.
All right. I'm not using any statistics. I'm not using anything, but you know, you look at the teams in the past and you just have this feeling of look at the 19 LSU team. You've seen something in that team that they were going to be different. You look at the Alabama team that's won. I just see something in what Sam Pittman is doing in this program and how they lost last week. I think it took some pressure off of, if they win last week, game day's here. Both teams are 4-0. There's all this pressure. There's all this hype. There's all these distractions of coaches getting interviewed, bumper pull, Drew Sanders and the Alabama connection. There's all these, interactions. It's almost like when I was talking to Tim Tebow and stuff during 2020 when they had the COVID and the Heisman Trophy was not in person. None of the award ceremonies were in person. I said, how do you think that would affect the players? Because now they have more time to prepare on the game opposed to they're in New York. They're here doing all these interviews. I just have this gut feeling. It's truly gut feeling that Sam Pittman is ready to put his stamp on this program. And to be honest, if it's going to happen any year, Alabama's down for what their standards are. You got KJ Jefferson. You're not going to do it next year at Alabama with an unproven quarterback. I just feel like if it's going to happen, this is the year that they pull off the upset.
Do you think it does happen? That's what you're telling me?
Yes.
You think it's happening today?
I predicted 31-28.
Oh, you think it's going to be that high score? So let me ask you this: is what do you think comes into this game that's going to make it high scoring? Because I just feel like both these teams have been a little bit hamstrung offensively, and like last weekend against Texas A&M. Do you think
we thought that's the last thing that any of us thought coming into this season.
Right. But like, I'm really intrigued by that take though, that you think it's going to be that 31-28. It's not necessarily high scoring, but it's more high scoring than these two teams have done in tight matchups. But like, where do you think maybe the wheels come off on this offense for Arkansas that they, hit that next gear?
I just think that when it comes down to games like this, and I've said it and preached it, as an underdog, you've got to stay in a game. You can't let Alabama jump to a 14. You can't let it be last year's Georgia game, or it's over, popcorn. You got to stay in the game. And I think that with it being a 2:30 game, it's not late. It's not the 11 o'clock kickoff that you got against Mississippi State. I think that Arkansas just does enough because, we don't really know what Alabama's defense other than Will Anderson is. We don't know what their receiving core is. We know that Bryce Young, I think Drew Sanders and Bumper Pool is good enough linebackers. They can scheme on him and try to bottle him up. You're not going to totally stop him, but I've said all along, if you contain him, you have a chance. Look at the Texas game. If they hit and tackle Bryce Young on that third down play, it's game over. I mean, so all it takes is one play, one turnover. Look at how Arkansas come into the game against Texas A&M, never turning the ball over. Then the fumbles and Rocket Sanders and KJ Jefferson. Everybody coming into the Texas A&M game after they got beat by App State. They thought their season was over. Look what happened. They beat Arkansas. Then you have the way the game ended on that field goal, hitting the top of the upright, and that devastating loss. And I think Sam Pittman is, when it comes to coaching and coaching these kids up, I think he can get them to shake it off really quick and then move on to the next game. I truly feel that he's that type of guy because he resonates with them.
Porter, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good.
What do you think? What worries you the most? Meaning, I get that it's Alabama, but A&M did some things up front to Arkansas that I just didn't think. I didn't think that they could do to Arkansas, which really worries me about them. That would be my biggest concern as an Arkansas fan. What is your biggest concern going into today?
Biggest concern is like just what I said about the Texas game, stopping Bryce Young on third down. That's the biggest concern for me. You have to stop him on third down. If you keep on letting them get these third down drives, and I'm not saying 3rd and 1s, it's these 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s that just end up killing, drive killers and gut punches. That's my biggest concern. And we don't know about the wide receiver corps. They could have a breakout game. Last year, Auburn against Arkansas, Bo Nix had the game of his life. We didn't see that coming, and he just picked the defense apart. I just think that this is a different year when it comes to the team, and it's more of hope of if this is the best chance, if they're going to do it. This is the best chance they're going to have to do it.
Is there any worry for Arkansas fans after watching Cam Little miss that field goal? And I know, like me being a former long snapper, like watching stuff like that is really like heartbreaking. Because it's like, holy crap, what it takes for you to miss like that. But like, is there any sense of like, wow, this kid really screwed up, they cost us this game, or is it just like tough draw?
How long have you been following Arkansas sports?
Not as long as you.
This is just a cherry on top for Arkansas.
You've got the Stoner fumble, you've got the fish drop punt, you've got the missed pop-up fly against Oregon State. You have when they were going to beat Florida and they hit Chris Leak through an interception, then there was a penalty flag on Buick. There's been so much. It's almost how I describe it is when Charlie Brown goes to kick the football, we think we're good, we're going to have a good game, and then boom, the football pulls up and he falls flat on his back. So as bad as it is to say, this is kind of a callous to Arkansas. This is what they're used to.
They're got to overcome the hump.
Batting going on. And I think that's why I make the valid point about this year is you've got to coach that instead of sulking and, playing a pity party. This is a grown man that gets these players and he's like, look, we're going to shake it off and we're going to shock the world. And he fully believes that's the biggest thing. He's not a coach speak. Coach Pittman is a real dude. And he's going into this game really fully believing that he can beat Alabama today. And I think these players are coming in today fully believing they can hang with Bama and beat, because Arkansas and Texas A&M's always been a tough game, and Texas A&M's won a lot of them. But they've played Alabama tougher and closer than they have A&M over the years. I know the wins ain't there, but you're talking about they've played them a close game for the past few years, whether it be in Alabama or Arkansas. So it's going to be a close game.
Here's my thing with Arkansas, okay? You got to I hate to say this, and Porter, you probably going about to rip me alive. They're too predictable. Okay? They drop 8 in coverage, which is crazy because they lead the SEC in sacks. Drew Sanders is the best portal pickup outside of a quarterback, in my opinion. My biggest concern, again, that offensive line got pushed around last week against Texas A&M. I think it told us a lot about A&M up front. Are you worried, offensively for KJ, if they can get the ball moving against this Alabama front seven?
Yeah, I mean, you have to because the thing is he is a run first quarterback.
He's the best player in the college football. Would you agree with that?
He's the best player in the league,
right?
But he is a run first quarterback. When it comes to, and I think we talked about this when we had you on the show. Mm-hmm. If he was a pocket passer and could sling it around, and we know they could go like a Ryan Mallett and go down there in 30 seconds and score. You get in these scoring matches, but that's not how this offense is built. You come in and you have to run the ball, zone read, then get a prayer. But they have now, what they haven't in the past few years is, depending on how Trey Knox is, you have Landers, you have Hasselwood, you have Knox. You have 3 levels of the receiver core that now – last year it was Burks, and that was pretty much it. So they have a chance. It's just, to me, it's like what Hawg fans are waiting on is when are they going to really, other than these stupid double reverse passes, and let's bring in Hornsby for 3 straight plays. You're talking about predictable. Everybody in the world seen that coming. It's almost like last year when everybody but Alabama seen the fake field goal come in and they ended up scoring on it. Mm-hmm. You can't be that predictable against Bama, this could go one or two ways. It's going to be a close game, and I think Arkansas pulls it away, or it's going to be last year's Georgia game. It's going to go one or two ways for me.
One of the things I'm just wondering with this game is that, like, last weekend we saw Devon Achane just have like a huge game, like a ton of big runs that he popped off. And I firmly believe that Jahmyr Gibbs is a much better running back than Achane. Like, I think he's good enough to be drafted very early in this upcoming draft. So let me ask you this: is like, what do you think that the strategy needs to be to prepare for a Jahmyr Gibbs compared to what happened against Achane? Because they do have similar physical profiles where they're both very fast, and if anything, Jahmyr's maybe a little more elusive and can do more coming out of the backfield as a receiver.
I think they completely underestimated Texas A&M. And that's easy to do. Look, you look at the game, you underestimate a team. You let the App State beat you and they just run all over them. And, they were never like you talking about getting Texas A&M did to Arkansas what App State did to Texas A&M. I mean, just controlled the game, physically beat them. After that fumble return for a touchdown, it was just took the life out of Arkansas. But at least with Alabama, you know what you're getting with them. They have dogs. They're not going to sneak up on you and just they're going to get, if they're going to run the ball and they're going to score, they're going to score. I mean, they're just that. I'm not sitting here saying that, Alabama's down talent-wise and Arkansas is going to pick them apart. I mean, we have to respect who Alabama is, no matter what team is playing against them. So, I mean, and being real, everything about Alabama worries you because how successful they've been. I mean, that's just right to the point. But when you're looking at how to contain them and how to beat them, you got to get their general. If you make them one-dimensional and you have success on the run game, try to make them just run the ball, and you make him kind of just stand in the pocket and pass, you have a chance. You can't let him run around because he's going to make plays.
I agree, brother. Porter, let everybody know where they can catch all your stuff. Thank you so much, buddy, for coming on with us, and we'll have you on again soon.
Yeah, anytime, man. You just come find us on Facebook, Twitter, at The Hawg Talk. We have 2 live shows a week. During LSU week, we'll have Blake back on. So looking forward to chopping it up.
Nice save. Black nice save. All right, buddy. Good luck today. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir, man. Have a good one.
All right, that's Porter Hayes from the Hawg Talk. Let's do this. Let's go to a very quick break. Brad Logan going to be joining us. It looks like him and Lane Kiffin are already drinking mimosas right now. My man's got a suit and tie on. I'm in the Grove. So let's do this. Let's talk about our good friend Carol Foss over at State Farm. We're back in 45 seconds. Ole Miss, Kentucky, next. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with a great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements. All right, we're joined here by Brad Logan, who covers Ole Miss. Brad, what's going on, man? You're on mute, by the way. There we go.
Yeah, I got you. How's everybody doing? It's a beautiful day for football here in Oxford. As you can see, the crowd is really gathering behind me, headed up towards the stadium. They opened the stadium a little bit early today, and so we're expecting a capacity crowd. Honestly, gentlemen, we expect a huge Kentucky crowd as well. A number of Kentucky fans could not stay in Oxford, so they stayed about an hour away in Tupelo, Mississippi. So a capacity crowd today. This is a big one. It's the lead-in game, 11 o'clock on the worldwide leader after their college game day show. So it's a big one here in Oxford.
Brad, did Lane Kiffin calling out the fan base, is this what's generated, or is it just a top 10 matchup and that's what's generating it?
No, it's a top 10 matchup. Blake, to be honest with you, if you look at what Ole Miss did last week against Tulsa, not many people showed up. It was unbearably hot for a lot of fans. And a lot of those fans that didn't show up are showing up today. They already had their preseason plans knocked out. They were not going to that Tulsa game. They were coming to this Kentucky game. They had already financially made plans to do that. It was a combination of a number of things. At the end of the day, it was a very poor crowd. I don't think it helped anything with Lane Kiffin. Don't think it hurt anything either. They were coming to this game, and it's going to be a big Ole Miss crowd today.
Are you drinking mimosas already with Lane Kiffin? I mean, my man's sharply dressed. I mean, you're looking good, Brad. I got to tell you.
Well, we're fortunate here. As you look over my shoulder, we do a couple live shots for WJTV and WREG, the CBS affiliates here, both in Memphis, Tennessee, and in Jackson, Mississippi. So that's why you're seeing the monkey suit today. So no alcohol today. It's just soaking up the world of college football.
I don't believe you, but anyway, Joe, Brad, I'm just messing. I'm just messing.
I got to say, this might be one of the best call-ins we've got, because Brad, you're like right there on the scene, which this is the best one in terms of up-close access. But Brad, I want to ask you this: was a bit of a quarterback controversy with the battle that was going on for Ole Miss, and you guys ended up settling on Jackson Dart. Do you believe that was the right decision? Do you think that he's the guy to go to, and that he's going to get into a nice rhythm in this game against Kentucky?
That's a great question. That's one of the keys for Ole Miss, I think, to win this game is how comfortable is Jackson Dart going to be, both in the pocket and managing this game. You know, one thing, Joe, last year that Ole Miss, they had to have Matt Corral win games for them. This year, that's not the case. They've got running backs Quinshawn Judkins, Zach Evans, and they've got Jordan Watkins on the edge at wide receiver, along with Jonathan Mingo, an experienced offensive line. They've got some pieces in place to where Matt Corral-ish doesn't have to win. So if Jackson Dart can manage this offense under the direction of Charlie Weiss Jr., their offensive coordinator, and Lane Kiffin, I think they will be okay. The question is he going to make those mistakes like the interception he made against Georgia Tech? Lane Kiffin made the comment that halftime conversation when Jackson Dart came off the field was very one-sided, and it was very, very loud. So that tells you right there he was not pleased with that decision by Jackson Dart. The question, will he make those decisions today? The good news, he's got a running back in Quinshawn Judkins to turn around and hand it to. The bad news, we don't know if Zach Evans is going to be able to go. It's going to be a game-time decision. Wow. He's dealing with a hip corner, so it's going to be the Judkins show to begin without question. The other thing is Caleb Warren, the normal center, he's out with a leg injury. Eli Acker's got to slide down from guard to snap the football. There's a little bit of shuffling on that offensive front. A lot of question marks for Ole Miss, specifically on defense. J.J. Pegues, the talented defensive tackle, transfer out of Auburn. He's dealing with a leg injury. He may not play. Secondly, you got Kari Coleman, the starting linebacker, had a really good first 4 or 5 games. He's also dealing with an injury. We don't think he can go either. So there are a lot of injuries across this Ole Miss offensive line and, of course, the defense as well. So some things to monitor going forward.
Brad, well, I didn't know all that about the injuries. I mean, how, I guess, nerve-wracking through the week has Lane Kiffin been on that with this being a top 10 matchup?
I would expect he's been very nervous, and we'll see what happens. Now, he's been very close to the vest with injuries. He's like many other major college coaches. He doesn't divulge a whole lot, but he did point out that he's hoping that Zach Evans can go. He's hoping that J.J. Pegues can go. But hope is the word here. He didn't say that they would definitively go. He just said they were doubtful. So I have no doubt that both he and Chris Partridge, the defensive coordinator, have been putting some things together. The good news is Trey Washington, a freshman, has played really well at linebacker. He may have to come in and play some. Ashante Sistrunk has played a lot at linebacker. He may have to be called upon along with Austin Keys, who's also dealt with a lot of injuries, but he is fully healthy now. I'll expect he'll be able to go today. So real quick, I think the key for me is this Lane Kiffin offense versus this Mark Stoops defense.
Agreed.
Ole Miss is going to be able to come out. Now, I'm not one of these guys that thinks that Ole Miss has held everything close to the vest the first 4 games, and they haven't done anything offensively. I think a lot of it's just getting their quarterback acclimated to their offense. But I do think they've held a couple things back for this game because they understand the importance of this game. If Ole Miss wins this game, that 10 or 11 win season is still on the table. But I firmly believe if they fall short today against Kentucky, that special season is out the window. They've got Vanderbilt coming up next week and then Auburn, and then the gauntlet really steps in. But if they can be 7-0 headed to College Station, there's a chance.
Brad, I know you're very busy. Last question for me. Would this be the staple in Lane Kiffin's career at Ole Miss if he beats a top 10 team at home?
Maybe. I really think that Tennessee game last week, Blake, was a huge win for Lane Kiffin, both on a personal level and a professional level. Secondly, I thought Ole Miss playing really well against Texas A&M is probably, to that point, the biggest game at Lane Kiffin as head coach at Ole Miss. That was a huge win last year over Jimbo Fisher and a really good Texas Aggie team. But Blake, I think you're probably right. Ole Miss gets the win today. It will be probably the biggest win in Lane Kiffin's career as Ole Miss head coach. But you could fast forward, and if he could do the same thing a couple more times, that probably knocks that off the mountaintop. But up until this point, Blake, I agree with you. I think it would be the biggest game of his career if he were to win today.
There you go. Brad, you look busy. You're in the Grove. Sneak you a mimosa or two, my friend. Hotty-toddy. Sneak one in there for us.
We're having a good time today, gentlemen. Let's put it like that.
All right. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks,
Have a
Brad.
good one, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
All right. That's Brad Logan joining us. He looks like he's having the time of his life, dude.
Oh man, I think that might have been one of our best call-ins. Though he gave us all those scoops. He did it from the right from the Grove, like you're
From the
talking about.
Grove.
We need more of those.
Uh-oh. I hope I'm not. Am I freezing up over here?
I think that was you but I think we're good.
Okay. All right. Look, let me say this that worries me, Joe. As much as I was leaning Ole Miss to start this, I'm not leaning them now. Bro, that's a
lot.
hell of a lot. So when he said that, what were you thinking? Because I was like wide-eyed.
Yeah, because Zach Evans, even if he plays a hip pointer for a running back, is incredibly detrimental. Like that's enough to even if you play
he's out for the year.
Yeah. Well, there's that, but too, most running backs are so precautious when they have a hip pointer trying to play with it. So I'm worried about that, and he's probably not going to play because it's such a serious injury. The offensive line stuff scares the crap out of me because, as we talked about earlier, Kentucky's defense is aggressive and they're going to go after Jackson Dart. You're losing your starting center and he's not playing in that game, man. That's a lot to deal with. Those injuries, I hate to admit it because I was so heavy lean on Ole Miss. I think I'm shifting my approach here, and I guess we'll talk to Vinny about it. But I'm leaning Kentucky now after what he just told us all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, and here's a stat for you, Joe. And of course, Zach, put that down. Put it down. Put it down. You don't steal daddy's stats. Okay? The producer, do not steal daddy's stats. Did you know that over 86% of the time when you have to replace your center, you don't win the game the game that week? Meaning,
wow.
Yeah, so bettors, okay, I did not know that until Buddy Diliberto down here, who is a massive gambler, said if he goes around and looks at all of these different teams, and if a specific team doesn't have their center, he bets for the over, not only for the other team to cover, but for the other team to win. That is a very look. When you replace your center, it's a big deal, man.
It also makes sense that you, as a former center, have that stat off the top of your head.
And I follow it every week. Look, so I will tell you this: teams that lose their center this year so far, this is one stat I keep up with religiously, have lost 91% of their games so far.
Wow,
that's not good, man. So we'll see. All right, let's do that. Yeah, Devin Staub said, Buddy D, #legend. Absolutely, he is. I mean, that's a hell of a stat. And I'm going to tell you, man, Lane better put it together, because if he can't mix it up, Kentucky's going to come in there and whip that ass. They're that physical. All right, let's do this. We got Jenna, because I want to get in here her in here a little bit longer than normal so we can make this drink. Rum chata. This is what she sends me, Joe, in a text. She goes, "What up, Blake?" And I'm like, "What up, Jenna?" She's like, "Go get orange Fanta," which I don't ever remember in my life drinking orange Fanta. This might be the first time I've ever drank orange Fanta in my life. And rum chata. Joe, when you got this text, were you like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I was, and I have something I want to say to Jenna when she hops on. This was probably it's going to taste great, but one of the oddest combinations, because I've never even looked at a bottle of either of these things or held one to a point where I was like, I'm going to purchase this for my own use. But I'm excited because it sounds delicious.
Well, I do got to admit, I saw some comments on her show, like, of it, and people tried it and they were like, "Oh my sweet baby Jesus." Now, last week's raspberry tea and Screwball, whatever I think is the whiskey,
that was amazing,
bro. I was buck ass. I told you, buck ass nude by 10:30. Buck ass nude. So if any ladies, my wife, wants to get my pants off, you know the mixture of it. Now, look, I know it's too much info. It's just sending hints. All right, let's do this. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag one more time, and our good friends over at GM Varnado & Sons. We return in 1 minute and 30 seconds with Jenna. Let's get, I was going to say drunk, but buzzed? Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. That sounds fun, right, Joe?
Oh, it sounds great.
All right, be back in 1:30. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code Bleav50, that's Bleav50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. With over 65 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Varnado & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. If you break down the side of the road in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and get you. And the best thing about that is that they can come and get you, and then they can bring your vehicle back to their shop and start the repairs right then. Again, GM Varnado & Sons. Go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard. Give them a call at 225-664-9992. 225-664-9992. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. Jenna, Joe's always late. I mean, like,
we should not be surprised by this anymore.
I guess. I mean, I just don't understand why the man can't come prepared. This is what separates someone who plays in the SEC versus the FCS level. Don't tell him I said that.
This is the separation between a center and a long snapper, okay? That's what it is.
God, I hope he's listening to this.
I do hope to.
Shots.
Okay, my favorite thing to tell Joe is every time he refers to himself as a long snapper, everyone must drink. So everyone who is listening to this now, anytime Joe talks about being a long snapper, you must chug.
So I got to be honest. Okay.
Yes.
I have never in my adult life bought rum chata before.
Really?
First time. Yes. I am a typical American dude. Give me a beer, give me some bourbon. That's about it. And some occasional moonshine, by the way. I'll drink some moonshine.
I do like some moonshine. My mother is a big rum chata fan because she, God, we sound like degenerates. She mixes it in pudding cups around the holidays for everyone. So we have
Hell
bougie
yes.
desserts. Yeah.
Joe,
Did you get locked out again?
I did not get locked out this time. These breaks are so quick. Like I don't have enough time to grab my stuff. Last time I had a legit excuse, but I was actually trying to go grab my stuff.
Okay, well, we'll yeah, sounds like an excuse. I'm not going to say this, but there are a lot of people, a lot of skeptics that are saying this is the difference between a long snapper and a center, that I show up on time and the long snapper does not. Is there any truth to this?
No, I do not think that there is any truth to that. I mean, I get to decide when I snap the ball compared to you. You're probably on a much quicker timer. Maybe that's where that's coming from.
Just be more responsible. You know what I mean? That's
I'm
what it's
trying over here.
Okay. All right. So, Jenna,
God.
we kick it over to you. By the way, before we get started, did you see the intro?
Okay, I missed a little bit of it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. And then I tried, and then it wouldn't let me go back because it was live. It wouldn't let me rewind back when I came in. I came in 2 minutes late.
I spent weeks perfecting. No, I'm just joking. Our producers did.
Damn.
I don't do shit. I'll just
Don't make me feel bad, okay? Because I'll feel bad. I already feel bad.
Don't feel bad. It's a joke. Don't feel bad.
know.
Now you make me feel bad for making you feel bad. You know, no. Okay.
Like,
Let's do some drinks. What we got? What we doing here?
Okay, so let me start off by saying that my love language with my cousin Johnny, who is in the armed services, he's a Green Beret. This is how we communicate with each other, is via TikTok. So he always sends me drink inspiration videos. So to my cousin Johnny, thank you. He said, I really think you should try this.
For the service. Yeah.
Yes, he's absolutely incredible. And anyone who's listening in who is one of our men and women serving, thank you very much. But I had to try this, and I'm not gonna lie, like the last time I had rum chata, like I was really nervous. But it genuinely surprised me at how good this was. So first thing you're gonna do, guys, is put your ice in. And we're gonna do this a little bit backwards, okay? Take your Fanta, your orange Fanta, and fill it up. Don't you want the Fanta?
I couldn't find Fanta again, by the way.
God damn it, Joe.
No.
I'm
so
kidding.
I was going to say, like, every week, it's like we're going on a scavenger hunt to find very random, hard to find things. And, like,
do you want me to give you more of a heads up instead? Would that help?
No, you gave me plenty of heads up. I'm just bad at managing. Actually, it's not a matter of me managing my time. I went to like 3 different places looking for Fanta, and I couldn't find it. I legitimately couldn't find. I don't know what it is in LA.
When you can't find it, always go to a gas station.
See, that's what I was gonna do, but I was in a hurry.
Always go to a gas station.
Even though I spent an hour doing this.
So fill your glass up with orange Fanta about 3/4 of the way.
Okay, 3/4 of the way. Okay.
Yeah. And then you're going to do about 1.5 ounces. If you're eyeballing this, you want to leave like 1 finger on top because we are going to stir this around, okay?
Oh, I forgot.
Every time you say the 1 finger line,
Just say it. Just get it out. Just get it out of your system, Blake.
That's what she said.
Just get it out of your system, okay? So now what you're going to do is you're going to stir this around. For anyone who ends up making this, because I was a little weird, because rum chata is a cream-based liquor, it's going to look strange because I know it looks strange, but I promise you, just because something looks strange doesn't mean it's bad, okay? We've all met that person in our life who looks strange, but they're not really bad, okay?
I feel like you're talking about me. That's how I feel about myself. You know, looks weird, but ultimately it's going to taste really good.
Yeah. So you're just going to stir it around and then you'll see it. It becomes more creamy. And then that's your drink, guys. And then that's it. And bottoms up.
Okay, hold on. I'm still stirring in this hoe. All right.
Smells delicious.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers.
Right? Cheers, guys. Cheers.
Mm.
Holy shit.
It tastes like a creamsicle. It's insane.
Yeah. Did you concoct this, or did you get this from somewhere? I think you might have said it when I was up.
I got this on TikTok.
Okay.
But kind of like you guys were, I was very skeptical. I was like, oh my God, like rum chata and orange Fanta, like seriously? But I was like, you know what? Let's give it a try because, you know, one of the things I wanted for anyone who ends up making these drinks is like, I just like simplicity for you guys. And the fact that all you need are 2 ingredients, you can bring this to you at your next tailgate and that's it. You're done.
How much alcohol does rum chata have in?
13.75% alcohol.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's about like
No.
Bailey's. I feel like.
Yeah.
See, here's the problem. And Jenna, this is what happened last week. I get these kind of drinks and I'm not able to manage like that the iced tea last week.
Ooh.
I was blitzed. Okay, by midway through the LSU game, I was gone. I was taking my shirt off and whipping around like a helicopter, like my name's Petey Pablo. Okay, shit got weird quick. Is this gonna do this to me too? I mean, like,
I guess we'll find out together because I don't really know.
We need a drink that's going to put Blake to sleep. That's what we need.
no.
Well, I am working on next week doing some type of whiskey based drink for you.
Oh well, listen. LSU has Tennessee next week. I'm gonna need every bit of alcoholic beverage that I can get. Because it's gonna be a stressful week.
I know.
Jenna,
I did want to share with you guys.
Okay, go ahead.
Just on a little bit of a fun note, because I'm filled with so many useless facts and information. I want to be able to share it with you guys. So I go on this show once a month called the Gary Meyer Show, and they sent me this box. Okay, and I'm going to show you what's in the box. Okay, they sent me this. Now
we can't really say it's a little
Is that what I
blurry.
think that is?
So
is that what you would call a condiment?
It's very blurry.
So it is what you would call a wine condom. So apparently when you drink a bottle of wine, your faces right now are fantastic. There's the tip. And you don't want to put the cork back on the bottle and you still want the wine to stay fresh. Joe's face is fantastic. You just, push it down and you have a condom on your bottle of wine.
As an Italian, this is a crime. I'm sorry. This is
a crime.
Oh my God. No. Who invented that?
Listen, they've invented it enough where the packaging is fantastic and people buy them. Also, there is nothing worse than you should always finish your bottle of wine. But if you, on the off chance, don't, it's the tip, Ken. It's the tip. I'm with you. But on the off chance that you don't finish your bottle of wine and you don't want to recork it, because when you recork it, you end up, air gets in and then the wine's not as fresh. And unless you have one of those pumps, the wine condom seals everything in. So the next day, then when you ready, we're going to see where the wine condom goes. No, it doesn't pop as much. It pops when there's air buildup inside and it like shoots across. So in return, I just think everyone should be aware that if you're drinking wine and you'd love to give someone.
I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't help myself. When you said the tip comes out and it shoots across the room, look, I am a child. I am an absolute child. I am immature. I can't contain myself. I am so embarrassed right now. No, I'm really not. I really fucking
No, you're not.
The truth is, I mean, shooter. Look, we got this. It's a shooter. Ken says it's a shooter. Look. Oh God, this is hey. By the way, first off, we should have started show off like this. But to everybody affected by Hurricane Ian, we are thinking about you. Yeah. Did y'all see the reporter who put the condom?
This is why this was inspired by. Because apparently that is something that like reporters do like often, which I like had no idea about.
I don't know. I'm not saying I have a lot of practice with putting condoms on round things, but she was a pro. She like took it out of the wrapper. She like put it on there and she's like, you got to do like this all on live television. I got to tell you, it was, I legitimately cried laughing. I just couldn't contain myself. No, I don't know if this show just going sideways now, but I can't help it.
I mean, I feel like whenever I come on, the show goes sideways, but that's part of my job is to make sure that you guys both go a little sideways, you know? So I just
well,
feel like I'm doing my job.
Right. The alcohol, it's inevitable.
Mhm.
But it's why we do it. It's the best part of the show.
Exactly.
Jenna, I got to tell you this. 2 things and we'll
Yes.
get you out of here. I can't drink more than one of these because I know what's going to happen.
It's fair.
Last week my pants came off. You know, like it just I couldn't contain myself. But dude, this is just like I'm almost done.
Yeah.
Right? It tastes, it's like a dessert. It honestly feels more like a dessert cocktail than anything. So I don't think this is something that you're going to chug, but it could be a fun, like, get you started right.
It's a
first
good
thing in the
morning
when you
drink.
don't
Yeah,
want
I
to have
was
a
saying the
beer.
same
Good
thing.
It's a good morning drink. Yeah.
It's another one of the great tailgate drinks because it's like it's so quick to make and it's sweet and it's kind of like a good wake up.
I
Right?
do feel a boost of energy, you know?
Yeah.
It feels good.
Isn't it
Jenna,
weird?
I got to ask you this. I
Fire
saw
away.
that you were, first off, we didn't even talk about Cam's crazy ass list he posted yesterday. Okay.
Yeah.
But we talked about playoff baseball. There is nothing more electric than playoff baseball.
Nothing. Yeah.
Do you want to give some fine words to the people of Chicago and the White Sox and White Sox fans everywhere?
I am, I'm just disappointed. Like, I feel like a mom who's like, I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed in you. That's how I feel about this entire organization more than anything else, because like I would rather have been 40 games back. We were 4 games back within 2 weeks and absolutely obliteratedly shit the fucking bed. There's no other PC way of saying it. Like, and one of my former professors, and he's a big radio guy in Chicago, wrote this, and I want to read it because I think it's verbatim that describes this team. And he said, it wasn't that long ago that the Sox were that team. They used to be hungry, talented, a talented bunch with a ton of swagger. People miss those times like they miss the old Kanye. Originally, they wanted to change the game, but they're the ones who changed. They got paid, they got sloppy, they got lazy. That's the White
a
Sox.
great way of putting it.
Yeah, and
Because,
that's the best way to describe it.
I'm sorry. Maybe Justin Fields can rise from the ashes like a phoenix.
And
not looking like it.
You know what, Joe? I'll say this. I was unwell on Sunday in my house, literally burning sage, watching the game, praying that and anytime the Bears come down to a field goal, like nothing gives me more PTSD. It makes me feel like I'm going to vomit more in my entire life. It just does. But we won. And, I feel like right now we're just kind of like winning ugly.
2-1,
we're 2-1. We're 2-1. It's weird. We're playing New York this week. We'll see how that goes.
They're going to get popped by the Giants. It's going to be a big wake up call for the Bears.
Hey, now listen.
We'll see. Anything can happen.
Now listen, either team, if they go 3-1, you do know the stat of teams that go 3-1 in the NFL. It's like a 75 to 80% chance you make the playoffs. It's a big early game for both of them because in the NFL, when you go again in sports, especially in football, when you have these separation Saturdays or separation Sundays, I'll give an example. If Arkansas goes 0-2 in the league and gets beat by Alabama today, and LSU beats Auburn, the likelihood of LSU finishing in the top 3 is highly significant versus what Arkansas would have to do to get back there. Yeah. I feel the same way about that Chicago-New York game. Yeah. I did bet Chicago in a money line because I think that I trust Justin Fields more than I trust Daniel Jones, if that makes sense. Just how I feel. Daniel Jones can run for 99 yards and trip on the goal line and fumble the football on a game-winning scenario. We've seen it happen.
Yeah, but
he trips in the air.
I know that we're
literally tripped over the air before.
I know we're getting distracted with NFL talk, but just to
wrap
that thought, it's not on Daniel Jones anymore. I think that the offensive line's playing well, they're running the ball well, but more importantly, defensively, they're killing teams. Like Wink Martindale,
Lineberger are such best friends because y'all are Giants fans together.
Well, we're also both from Jersey too. That's the other thing.
Oh, well, excuse us.
Jersey.
Oh, I know Tony
Jersey.
Ooh. I know Tony Soprano. Jenna, this is fantastic. I'm already done. I already feel lit. Thank you so much.
Wow, that was like 15 minutes. Good job, Blake.
It's very
Cheers.
thick.
I'm about to have the second kid, so all the alcohol I can consume at this given moment is going to happen.
There might be a third coming eventually.
Just try to keep your pants on, Blake, tonight. Can you do us all a favor?
Listen,
Keep your
I'm
pants
telling
on.
you, last week my pants literally were coming. Like I was legitimately so excited that LSU beat New Mexico. My shirt came off, and I was whipping the bitch around. Okay, I was like, "Fuck yeah," and crazy white boy syndrome. It was okay, just letting y'all know. Jenna, tell everybody where they can follow all your stuff.
You can find me at Bar Talk with Jenna across the board. Once you find Bar Talk with Jenna, you find me. So that's it. And thank you guys for always having me on. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week.
Yes, for sure.
All right. That's Jenna Dellison joining us. Kentucky. So listen, we just got Ole Miss's version of what's going to happen this week. Let's go to Kentucky. Vinny Hardy. Let me ask this question. Is Mark Stoops more accomplished in the last 5 years than John Calipari?
Yeah, I mean the basketball. Wait.
Pissed. Vinny's gonna get pissed. He's gonna. Blake, what are you talking about, Blake? Let's go to him next. Let's talk about good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Returning 45 seconds. Let's talk Kentucky with Vinny Hardy.
By the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Whether you've been injured in an accident, you're preparing for a future with your estate planning, you're getting ready to close in on a real estate deal, or you're about to welcome a new addition through adoption into your family, or you're facing criminal charges, you need very experienced attorneys, and that is what the Drake Williams Law Firm will be able to do for you in navigating the legal system. The door to their cozy office in historic downtown Ponchatoula has been open since 1981. They have helped thousands and thousands of Louisiana families and individuals win cases, close on real estate deals, and regain that peace of mind. Their lawyers over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, are very determined, compassionate, and dedicated to their craft. It's the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by.
All right, we're still waiting for Vinny. Vinny!
I'll shoot him a text.
Okay, well, I think Vinny got mad. Here he is. All right, so
There
we
we go.
introduced to you Vinny Hardy, who covers the Kentucky Wildcats. Vinny, were you so upset that I said Stoopsy was more accomplished than Calipari that you just wanted to walk off the set? Is that what's going on here?
Man, I had a little quick something over here. My fault, fellas. I knew y'all were coming to me. I was trying to get over and get back before I came on, and I was a couple seconds late. Oh, you said going back 5 years between Stoops and Cal?
Past
Okay.
5 years.
Yeah, 5
Yeah.
years.
Because Kentucky's last Final Four was 2015 with 38-1 team.
Well, it would be 16. It's 2022, right? So it'd be what?
2017.
2017
16
to now. Yeah,
Right. So the Final Four happened before that. The 38-1 team was the last team to make the Final Four. And since then, Stoops has won 10 games twice. Kentucky lost the buzzer beater to Carolina. That would have May hit the shot to beat us. That would have taken them to the Final Four and would have tipped it in basketball's favor. But the past 5 years, sample size, the football team they've done stuff that hasn't been done in my life. We're talking about 1977, the last time you won 10 games. That was when I was born. My dad told me about all that. Now I've actually seen 2 10-win seasons. I like all the programs, but if we're going just on 5 years, you gotta lean football right now. You do.
So Kentucky football school. Got it.
and we talked about Kentucky's been a basketball school, and everybody outside of Kentucky, the first things that come to mind when you say Kentucky: bourbon, the Derby, Kentucky basketball. So if something goes without saying, it doesn't need to be said. So to me, Cal shouldn't have said what he said, and that's why he caught all that flack for it. You could have still let everybody know you need a facility without saying what you said, but you can't go back now. And I don't blame Stoops for getting ticked off about it. Don't step on me to get what you want when I've got us where we haven't been in 40 years. I see both.
All right, Vinny. So go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say if they win today, I mean, hell, that's even more support for saying that they're a football school. And The one thing we had Brad Logan on earlier, Vinny, and he was telling us all the injuries that Ole Miss is dealing with. You've got Kentucky also recovering from their own injuries and getting some guys back. You're getting Chris Rodriguez back. How important do you think that is against this Ole Miss team that's a little battered apparently?
We had Brad on Bleav in Kentucky Wednesday, and I felt my eyebrows going up, kind of like y'all when he was kind of going through the injuries. And I know we're focused on the SEC, but y'all were talking NFL. Right after he was on, I said, with the way Ole Miss is kind of depleted, it reminded me of how Buffalo was going into that game against Miami. Hyde was out for the season. Buffalo was depleted defensively. I mean, Ole Miss is at home. Buffalo had to travel, but defensively, Ole Miss is lacking quite a bit of oomph. And getting Rodriguez back would definitely help. Kentucky's O-line isn't what it has been the past few years in the run game, the big blue wall, the reputation. You lose the O-line coach, you lose 3 guys to the NFL, you bring in a new coordinator and a new O-line coach. I still think it's going to eventually start to click. It may not be what it was last year, but I think it's still going to be better than what it has been. And Rodriguez is patient as far as, stretching stuff out. He's not a home run hitter like Smoke and those guys, but you also bring in the ability to break a tackle. Dude never, hardly ever gets hit for a loss. So it's got to help. And he's fresh going up against the defense we just talked about. It is banged up already.
So let me ask you this, Vinny. And I hate to ask it like this, but I think it's just I don't want to say Kentucky in football sometimes falls a little short when the bigger games are here, but they have in the past, not necessarily always under Stoops. But if Ole Miss pulls this game out with all the injuries that they have, what does it say about Kentucky in your opinion?
Well, Porter asked Joe, how long have you followed Arkansas sports? Kentucky, we felt that pain for a lot of years and seen some heartbreakers. Look, Chris Doering, Mr. SEC Network, caught a game winner against us in mid-90s, 93, 94. Kentucky had 7 picks and still lost that game 24-21 to Florida. How you get 7 takeaways and lose? We did it. So that
on
heartbreak
sweep, by the way, right? Wasn't it a jet sweep to end the game? Yeah. Somebody returned it like 83 yards or something.
No, they just hit him right in the end zone, little 15 yard, like a little post right in the middle of the defense. So the LSU game, the Bluegrass Miracle,
baby.
We know some heartbreak. I'm right with Porter. So if they fall short against Ole Miss, a lot of we're just like Ole Miss. If you beat Ole Miss, you can have that special season. Probably be undefeated going into Knoxville. Both teams 15-3 in their last 18 games. We're saying the same stuff from both sides. So if you lose to Ole Miss, you can still have a good season, and you're not going to be 3-9, but maybe 10-2, 11-1 might not happen, but it'll ding it a little bit. But we know heartbreak though.
What's the temperature right now with Will Levis? Because I feel as though everyone overhyped him a ton coming into this season, and he was lauded to be this top 15, maybe even top 10 draft pick because of his traits. But I think a lot of people who actually know Will Levis and have paid attention to him, I think a more realistic outlook is the way that he's playing right now, because he's not fully developed and he's very raw as a player. What's the temperature for Kentucky fans? How do they feel the way that he's played so far? And obviously he's going to be an important piece in this game, but to me, I feel like he's underwhelmed those major expectations, which is just so hard for any quarterback to hit. But what's the temperature right now for Kentucky fans?
I still think is good. I'm in the camp to say, you come in from Penn State where you've been backing up Clifford forever. You missed spring ball last year. You were late and you kind of got thrown in, and we're solid. You had some picks you shouldn't have thrown, but 2,400 yards, 30-something touchdowns, 13 picks. Now you come back year 2, the game should slow down. We've heard, veterans say that all the time. Things slow down. You've been through this league before. I kind of expect that to happen. Still a couple little bad picks, footwork things where he threw a pick earlier. I still think he's good, and when you give him time, you see what he can do. You saw the post route to Dane Key in the swamp against Florida, 60 yards in the air. So when the line gives him time, he's still I think he's going to do well. The temperature is good on him. He was hyped. I don't think he was overhyped as Anthony Richardson. People just get hyped now.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing to do. Just hype somebody before they're ready. They haven't played, and he's an athlete. That's just the way it is. But he went from not being known at all to now he's on the top of the draft boards, and the potential is there. And I think he's had some 300-yard games already. He has potential to maybe light it up today. I think he will eventually play himself to being pretty close to some of the premature hype that he maybe received.
Vinny, here's my biggest key of the game. I think that Kentucky's interior offensive line has really struggled. Look, when your interior offensive line struggles and the interior D line is able to get pressure up the middle in the pocket, it's really affected Will Levis.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss does have some dudes that they can play in the interior. They have a really good nose guard. They have Clowney, I forget, not Jadavian, but his cousin, who's really gotten after the pass rusher, or being a good pass rusher, I should say. Does Kentucky's interior offensive line worry you about an Ole Miss team that has shown that they can get a pass rush so far this season?
Yeah, but to me, it's still, you got to get the tackles up to speed. That's where, you lose Kennard and guys like that. That's where they can kind of improve things a little more, in my opinion. Scangarello, the offensive coordinator, all week was talking about, I hope they blitz. So he's like wanting them to do that. So I don't know if he got something up his sleeve or in his bag, but get it out quick. There are times that Levis has held the ball a few times on some of those sacks as well. So it's a combination of a lot of things that just aren't quite right. So I still think the potential was there to get to where it needs to be. You can still be a solid team without getting there, but I think to be what they want to be, they got to clean those things up for sure, especially going back in the SEC. You got your 2 tune-up games against, Youngstown State and Northern Illinois, and there was still some stuff. They're like, and now we're back in the SEC grind, so you got to
Youngstown State clapped in the interior. I mean, Kentucky was a little overwhelmed, which makes me wonder how they're going to do against Ole Miss. Go ahead, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the last thing I'm kind of wondering here is we've seen Kentucky struggle a little bit. We're talking about how their issues that they've had, running the ball and getting Chris Rodriguez going and or not having Chris Rodriguez, and you're getting him back and all that stuff. Is there like an expectation, knowing everything that's coming into this game, that this is like not an easy win, but like this should be a lock win for Kentucky based on everything that we've talked about? Is this one of those circumstances for this team? I
would think they're very confident. I mean, you've already went to a tougher environment in the swamp and got a win. I mean, the Grove is going to be sold out now, but Lane twisted everybody's arm and got them to buy up all those tickets. So you got the road thing out of the way. You plan another inexperienced quarterback in Jackson Dart. It's not like he's some KG veteran either. Mm-hmm. And the strength of schedule for Ole Miss isn't. I mean, Georgia Tech was probably supposed to be a better game back when they scheduled it, but that turned out to be. Troy probably gave them their best game so far this season. So, but you got to be confident. I think that they should get this win. They feel the same way, but Kentucky, you talk about Stoops, a win on the road against the SEC West. That's still something, in spite of all his accomplishments. He hasn't been able to do that yet. So no doubt he's, you pass Bear Bryant on the all-time wins list. There's still little nuggets and stuff for him to do. Doors to kick down is what he likes to say. So what better door to kick down than on the road against top 15 Ole Miss to get that first SEC West road win for his entire tenure at Kentucky.
All right, Vinny, we greatly appreciate you, buddy, for joining us. I agree with you on that. Tell everybody where they can find all your stuff and everything that you guys are doing.
Follow us at Bleav in Kentucky on Twitter. Got the TikTok. Need to get that back going. Got to get an IG. I'm at Vinny Hardy, and check out all the podcasts there and all the clips there. And I appreciate y'all putting me right in front of the real Coach JB in the batting order, because I got a lot of good pitches to hit, man.
Well, look, we only bring all-stars on here. The only non-all-star. See, Joe's like the coach's son.
Yeah.
All stars. You know what I mean?
I kind of
he's
got
like,
earned.
we're the real athletes, and he's like the coach's son that actually can probably play a little bit, but we're never going to let him know that.
He's a gamer. He's a gamer.
Right.
Gym rat.
Thank you so much, Vinny. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
I appreciate it, fellas.
All right, that's Vinny Hardy, who covers the Kentucky Wildcats. The real Coach JB. Now, listen, Coach JB got 1 million views on the video about Tua Tagovailoa. Obviously, we want to talk a lot of college football with him, as he's our special guest this week. I do want to, Joe, talk to him about Tua coming up, though, because, man, we haven't talked about that. I think that's a whole football thing. I got really pissed off. I think a lot of people got pissed off behind that. So we'll talk with him next, and we'll kick around some college football. Our special guest next. Let's talk about our good friends over at BetOnline one last time before we get out of here. BetOnline and GM Varno & Sons. We return in 1 minute with our special guest, the real Coach JB. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events, with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code Bleav50, that's Bleav50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. With over 65 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. If you break down the side of the road in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and get you. And the best thing about that is that they can come and get you, and then they can bring your vehicle back to their shop and start the repairs right then. Again, GM Varno & Sons. Go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard. Give them a call at 225-664-9992, 225-664-9992. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. All right, we're joined now by Coach JB. Coach, what's happening this morning, man?
Hey, how you doing, brother? How you doing? I'm good.
Listen, I kind of want to kick it off, and thank you for joining us and being here with us. Look, I'm not going to tiptoe or pussyfoot around here. You had your video about Tua Tagovailoa. You've been a coach at a high level, higher level than any of us will ever get to. As a coach, let me just ask you, and I give you the floor. Man, how disgusting does it feel to see what happened with Tua this week?
Man, it was hard to watch. Probably the video I did, man, was just I didn't know it had that many views. I was getting hit up that night, and it was like, hey, I was like, ah, shit, I'm asleep. But I had Marcellus Wiley on yesterday. I had Brian Finneman on yesterday, former NFL guys who had different perspectives. One of them said, pull the helmet from the kid because we're always going to fight to play as the player. And then the other one said, it's on the kid. It's on the player. Your body and your temple is your temple, and it's your money to lose. And so there's two different perspectives. I agree with both, man, kind of wholeheartedly. It's just different. Not trying to speak outside of both sides of my mouth, but I do agree. And as a coach, you kind of you tote that line because as a coach, you got to protect these kids at your any cost necessary, and then any means necessary. And then as a player, you're competitive. You want to go out there, and I did both. So it's like, which one is it? Having seen that play, though, and having seen the original play where everyone's coming out talking about it's his back, I wish we would stop that narrative because, I mean, it's just really a slap in people that have like over a 2 IQ's face, right? Correct. So like I'm like, why are we continue to push this? Anyone that played knows what it is. Anyone that has a couple degrees knows what it is. And we clearly know if it was his back, he wouldn't have popped up, A. And B, he wouldn't have fell 5 steps later like he did. And when you saw the fingers, curl up, that's basically, neurons shooting at a all-time spark in certain parts of your brain when it happens again within a matter of time, which this case was 4 4 or 5 days, right? So it was not healed. The brain had swelling. There was probably a little fluid. There was a lot of things going on that he needed to be stay clear of, and probably playing was number one. I put it on the Dolphins and the head coach, number one, inexperience. He's never been a head coach. I don't believe he understands that. This is me. All right. I'm here at the house with you guys though. So my I guess example here doesn't mean anything, but if I'm there, I'm saying, listen, we don't need to beat the Bengals week 3 to win the Super Bowl. Teddy Bridgewater needs some reps. I'm good with giving them to him today. He's a proven winner at the backup position at quarterback. He needs some reps in case something does happen later. And I want our team to have a little adversity and face some stuff on the road with a backup quarterback and rally around him. And I want to see the true testament of my team, nuts and guts. So you're not going today just because it's a short week. We played 4 days later. You haven't had any reps this week, I'm sure. You didn't have any pads on. We don't know how to battle test your noggin in a helmet. So we're going to just stay away from it. That's what the experienced coach should have did, because if you watch history, do you think Belichick would have played him? Do you think Tomlin would have played him? They've already gone through history showing they would not have. They've pulled guys for this reason. So inexperience is, unfortunately, you can't rewind on inexperience, and you can't look in the rearview mirror. And that kid, I know the family well, recruited the family, know the family from the island. That Polynesian tightly knitted fraternity is something you do not want to get on the wrong side of. Mm-hmm. And I would not have played him, man. And I just think that you might have screwed this kid's career and possibly taken some years off his life. Unfortunately, knock on wood, I hope it doesn't happen.
Coach, when we, all this stuff that we saw and all the details you kind of brought into the light there, and having been a coach, and we Blake and I both played in college and have probably at one point been through concussion protocol. This might be an obvious question, but do you think there needs to be changes to the concussion protocol, or was this just a circumstance that the outside influence of the player wanting to play and the coach just listening to him? Where do you kind of see as maybe one of the factors here?
Man, you know me, man. I take my hate on social media because I'm always calling people soft. Mm-hmm. And then all the naysayers come out and say, you would have called him a pussy if he wouldn't have played. And I'm like, well, number one, you're assuming again because you know nothing besides watching me on Netflix, right? If it's a hamstring or a leg or a knee or something, once I find out it's not real serious, yeah, I'm pushing you to play. If you're hurt, not injured. Anytime it comes to a brain, you can ask any player ever played for me or any administrator that I've ever worked for, I'm never letting you play. I'm not even letting you get around in helmet. I don't mess around with the brain. My mom's actually was a neuro. I know the business, the profession, and what it entails. So all the naysayers out there on Twitter are just a bunch of fucking idiots, right? So the bottom line is when it comes to the noggin and the head and the brain or the neck, spine, vertebrae, my cousin's one of the world's most famous chiropractors, by the way. It's not like you're talking to some idiot that has not a clue how the body mechanics and body kinesiology works. I would never let a kid with a head injury ever play. Now, yeah, I do believe there's a lot of other injuries. A lot of other sorenesses that you should fight through and play through. Head is not one of them. So having saw that, playing the quarterback position at the highest level myself and seeing what happened, I saw how his head bounced off that turf. That turf is an eighth of an inch thick. It's layered with dirt, concrete, and rubble. And you think the head is supposed to bounce off that. And another thing, when you do not wear a mouthpiece, contrary to everyone out there's belief and all these people that go on these shows and say mouthpiece don't matter. Ask Troy Aikman, ask Steve Young, ask any other human being that's played football and wore a mouthpiece compared to not wearing one. And you tell me the percentages of concussions that occur without one. It is a known fact, scientific fact, and that when you hit your head or hit a thigh or a knee pad or a thigh pad or a femur with no thigh pad with your helmet, your jaw concusses and bites. The teeth bite each other at an all-time speed. I want to say 400 something miles an hour. And your jaw does that, you get a concussion. Now, if you wear a mouthpiece, your jaw can't do that. And that saves a lot of people, but a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of folks don't want to use a mouthpiece, regardless of what reason. Maybe it's cute, it's not so pretty, it's not so fashionable. We can't talk. We've heard it all, right? We can't speak, we can't audible. Well, quarterbacks don't audible anymore anyway. They're running the play that's sent to them because they're so shitty. So put a mouthpiece in. Let's watch concussions go down. I'm just telling you, I ain't no doctor, man, but I know that what it is when you play and common sense. And we're so ignorant nowadays, man, and it is truly life-threatening. And put a mouthpiece in and let's watch them drop. Put a thigh pad on your thigh. The femur is the largest bone in the body. Try hitting one of those with your helmet and see what happens. See what gives.
Right.
Concussion. I've been around my whole life. I've seen it. So I don't mess around with the head. I stay away from it, and I would not have played that kid on a 4-day rest, which he really did not get to rest at all. And it was very bad look for the NFL, Roger Goodell, who makes $70 million a year, and it was a bad look for the Miami Dolphins, who look like they're about to become the New England Patriots with every type of gate you could think of trying to win a championship. And unfortunately, that's a bad look.
Coach, I will admit this, and Joe talked about, and look, playing FCS, it is what it is. But from my perspective, I would want my coach to take my helmet, right? Because look, I had this is FCS, but we had a 4-star center that got kicked out of a SEC school, transfers to Southeastern. I'm not coming out because my job's about to get taken, right? Like that's the thought mentality that I have, and I'm a competitor. So I guess my thing is that I'm not going to blame Tua, even if you are concussed, because I would ask the question that I've been through this. I'm not thinking clearly, right? Like I'm not going through class clearly. Like, Coach, I will be honest. When I went to Monday's class, I went to Tuesday's classes on Monday. That's how concussed I was, and nobody talked about it. Okay, back in 2008, nobody wanted to talk about that. And that's why at least I come to the conclusion, look, if you please evaluate me. Looking back on it now, I wish my helmet would have been taken because the next week we're going against, at that time, would be a 9-win Mississippi State team the following week. So I'm biased to a player's perspective because I don't know any better as a 20-year-old dude. I will admit that for myself, but that's just me. I want to get your thoughts, though, on college football this weekend. A lot of separation. I do want to ask you this. I don't know if you got to catch the UCLA-Washington game last week, but a lot of good games happen in the Pac-12. Have you been able to catch some of these guys in the Pac-12, and how do you think that they're doing?
Nah, it's crazy. I live in L.A., and I haven't been able to watch SC or UCLA because it's not aired here. How about that? So
Wait, I didn't know that. That's a thing?
Yeah, the broadcasting out here is stupid. It's the same thing with like Dodgers games and stuff. It's horrendous.
It's unbelievable. That's why they're leaving, man. That's why they're getting out of here. The Pac is unbelievable, man. I don't know. So I'm like, well, screw it. I got buddies coaching at those places, and I'm just like, dude, this is unbelievable. I haven't watched anything. So last night, I just did me. I didn't even try to bother looking for the UCLA game. But I was at home anyway, but I didn't get a chance. I think UCLA Washington actually was on. But how many people showed up at the Rose Bowl?
Maybe like 30,000. It wasn't
packed for once.
That's crazy. Well, you're idiots for trying to play on Friday night when Mater Dei and Bosco play, the number 1 and 2 teams in the nation, playing high school football right in your backyard. You're an idiot. You're going to get more people at those games. But
and they did, by the way. They did.
Yeah. So I didn't even watch them. I haven't watched them. I do know who the quarterback is. Obviously, I got a couple of buddies coaching there. I like him a lot. I think he's leading the nation in passing and completion percentage. I like him a lot. Robinson kid. I like him a lot. I know he freaked Washington last night. Saw some highlights. My tight end from Indy on the show is the starting tight end at Washington. So I know their team's a little better. It's amazing what a coach does with pretty much similar roster from last year to now. So Washington's better, but that's why I'm not sold on the Pac-12 yet, because I just want to, Washington beats Michigan State. Well, Michigan State turned around and got throttled by Minnesota. Like, do we know who's really good? We don't know. USC struggles Oregon State versus a very, very limited defensive roster compared to a USC talent-based offensive roster. So we barely get out of that game. Utah loses to probably the 5th worst team in the SEC. They're coming out ranked top 8, and we're thinking they're the team going to the Final Four out of the Pac-12. They get beat. by a stiff Florida team. So now we're like, okay, what are we? So it's still up in the, I hate anointing anyone after week 3, 4, 5. Just like in the NFL, we anoint these quarterbacks, we anoint these teams. Let their resume play out. Let them put some ink on the resume. Let some time play through, and let's really find out who's who. I'm not sold on the Pac-12. I think the Pac-12 right now, though, even though 4 teams in the ACC are ranked and an undefeated Syracuse who's not ranked, similar to UCLA, I Bleav that conference is overrated, and I Bleav the Pac-12 is better than the ACC right now, even though we've got less ranked guys. So it is what it is. It's watered down across the board, man. Anybody can beat anybody other than Georgia and Alabama, in my opinion. Everyone else is free game because of the portal and NIL and how it is. So, App State can go beat A&M tomorrow, and App State can go 61 on North Carolina, a Power 5 team in a major Power 5 conference. So it is what it is. Marshall can go into Notre Dame, and Kent State can hang with Georgia. I mean, I'm just telling you, I've been saying it, but nobody wants to listen. So I don't really want to give any conference any credit. I think it's all shitty.
Coach, do you think they're getting serious out in Kansas about football? I mean, I don't mean that in a wrong way, but you got 2 teams that have 9 wins, between the 2 of them, and it seems like their stadiums are packed. They're getting serious about it. Do you think TV deals have anything to do with that too? Because they're putting a lot of effort there. What's going on with Kansas State, in your opinion, when you were at Independence? Were people getting serious about football there?
No, they were not getting serious there, and that's why KU had a damn boycott the game I went to. They're trying to get me to be the head coach. It was actually comical, right? We know these administrators are too soft to fuck with me. But having said that, Lance Leipold is a great human being, a good friend of mine. I've said it months ago. I got receipts. It's on my show. I said KU will be a 7-win season. Kleiman does a real good job at K-State. He's a good coach. These are coaches that come from smaller programs who know how to create a culture, build a roster, either from within or use the portal accordingly and not abuse the portal. Both coaches come from the smaller realms of college football landscape. They understand what it takes to build from within. And KU put in a $300 million football facility. They have one of the best in the country finishing up there. That's not a bad place to be in Lawrence, a great college town, and a great conference, you can argue. So they're in a conference where if you can win and be competent, which they have not been in a while, and just recruit some solid JUCO kids and get you some kids that you should not get, just a few. You don't need to get all of them. You can win at KU. And I told everyone, Lance is going to flip that place, man. And I don't know. I just spoke to him a couple days ago, man. He's a great dude. I don't know if Nebraska's a better job than KU. And I don't know if I would leave.
We were debating that earlier. Coach,
Yeah.
to rudely interrupt you, what do you think there? What do you think should he make that move if Nebraska offers?
I don't think he's sexy enough. Nebraska's ignorant, man. They think you got to have this commercialized guy. I just don't get it. I don't get these administrators. I don't get these PhD holding presidents who are really just the dumbest humans on earth. You hold a PhD and you can't make a hire for your institution yourself. You have to go outside and use a outside hiring resource. These lawyers and these companies. It blows my mind, but. I don't think he's sexy enough, man. I think they really think they can get Urban Meyer. I really think they can get the next big Pete Carroll. And it's like, dog, you're crazy. This is not Lincoln, Nebraska from what it was. And number one, and number two, hire somebody that wants to be there, that doesn't need to be there. Lance Leipold wanted to be at KU. He wants to be there. Kleiman wants to be in Manhattan at K-State. People that want to be at places win. Bo Pelini actually wanted to be in Lincoln. So did Frank Solich. I bet you Nebraska fans are regretting it and regretting the fact that you better be careful what you wish for, because last time I checked, they both had 9 and 10 wins every year, and you haven't even came close. And so, I stay at KU, man, myself, but that's just me. But money talks, bullshit walks. We'll see what Nebraska throws at them. It just blows my mind, man. It's a recyclable business. We keep hiring the same humans at these big schools, and they come from a place where they didn't even win it all there. So it's like, what are we doing? Why are you paying these guys? They haven't even won. There's only 3 coaches in America that's won that deserve the money. Everyone else is garbage. I'm just telling you. They are overpaid, overpriced, and get 0 results. Jimbo, what's he done? Nothing. What's besides Dabo and Kirby now? Let's see if Kirby can sustain it, though. But besides Saban, Dabo, Urban's out. Pete Carroll's in the NFL. Jimbo has one with basically a roster built by Jeremy Pruitt and Odell. You tell me, what have they won? What have those guys won? And I ain't throwing no coach on the bus. They're great coaches. I'm not going to make no mistake about it. James Franklin at Penn State, good friend of mine, but he hasn't won nothing. He's getting a lot of money. We got a guy at Stanford who's been there forever, and he hasn't won nothing. He's making he's one of the highest.
David Shaw makes $7.5 million. It's insane.
Highest coach in America. Nobody talks about, and he's not getting those McCaffreys anymore. He's not getting those kids anymore. He's not getting Luck, and Pac-12 is not going to break bread, man. They're not going to pay that money. They're not going to break out the NIL. That's why Mel Tucker left Colorado, and he's overpaid as hell. What's he done? And we're paying guys $9 million. We're paying guys $20 million to leave once we fire them. Just let that sit in. How ignorant is that? And that's these presidents and these boosters, man. It blows my mind. Hire a young guy that wants to be there. Lance, climb it. Pay him less. Let him prove to you. Give him a salary pool for his staff. Let him build. Then pay him when he's proven. When he's proven he can win. And that's just what I don't believe. I can't understand how smart you have to be to figure this out. But who knows? I'm just sitting here. What do I know?
Last thing for me, but speaking on all these coaches and guys not winning, do you think Harson's fired after this game today if they don't look good against LSU?
Well, I would have fired him after Missouri. I don't like him. Me and him hate each other, by the way. So,
Coach, can you go in as much as you can? Can you go in on that? Because a lot of people don't understand Brian Harsin in the South, if that makes sense. Like, we know who Brian Harsin is, but nobody really kind of knows who Brian Harsin is. If you can
man, he's shady, dude, man. I don't deal with people that do shady business behind your back, trying to get kids, trying to push kids certain places when you're a 4-year head coach and you know that you need me in the end of the day, and then you do me wrong one time, you're not coming to my office. So I never let the fucker in my office. We had a few different issues, a few different shared words, but there's a few coaches like that, by the way, that I had that happen with. They're all for themselves, man, and it's bad business because the kids see through it at the end of the day, and real recognizes real. So once those kids find out you're fake and full of it, you're going to lose that roster anyway. They've clearly found out that he needs to be back in Boise, Idaho somewhere picking potatoes and not coaching in the South. That is clearly what that roster's figured out. That's what that team's figured out. That's what that town's figured out. That's what America is probably maybe don't know, but is starting to see. So on a global scale. So, that hire right there just blows my mind. I mean, you guys go from Shizik to Malzahn. Like, it doesn't make sense on the hire. You guys got guys from the South. It's always SEC don't really go outside. You know what I mean? It's not like when have you seen a Mississippi State besides Mike Leach, who's a California native at the end of the day, but never played. So he's kind of gray area. He's kind of neutral because he never actually played football. He was a lawyer at Pepperdine here in California. Where do you really go and see getting a guy like Pete Carroll? You know what I mean? Lane Kiffin.
The only team that's done that has been LSU twice with Les Miles from Michigan, and then obviously Nick Saban with Michigan State. That is the stat of coaches not from the South, believe it or not.
Well, Saban's from West Virginia, bro. I don't know what you want to call that.
Well, I meant like schools that they were at. Like, they come in from Michigan State.
I'm talking about roots. I'm talking about born.
I get you. Right.
Alabama's not hiring Pete Carroll from California.
You're right. You're right.
Lane Kiffin's a little different. He grew up kind of all over, with his dad. So he can kind of go from Tennessee to SC and fit in, go to from SC to the Raiders or whatever. He can move around. He fits in a little different. Ogeron is as south as it gets as far as what Louisiana draw. I mean, so it's like, where are we? We don't really come and get cats from the West to go out there. And then you out here to Idaho to get a guy that really has been living in this area, Idaho area, which is, there's 6 people that live in the state of Idaho. And it's like, why are you going to get this guy to come over into Auburn? And it's like, we knew that was a disaster from the jump. And Missouri, you guys say out there, I say Missouri. they're as bad as I've ever seen. Like them and Vanderbilt, they need to get out of the SEC. They need to create their own conference. That's just a bad, horrible look. And I just feel for Texas and Oklahoma going in there as well. I just think it's a bad look. It's all about money. I don't like SC UCLA leaving here either. I just think it's the worst thing possible for college football. But this is the world we're in, man. NIL and transfer portals, and it's all about money. And we'll take an equipment bus from LA to College Station, which will take 18 days just to play a football game. Makes sense to me.
Coach, last question from us. I saw if the 12-team playoffs started today, James Madison would play Alabama. I don't know if I like that at all. I guess, what are your thoughts on this expansion that continues to come up every week?
Shit.
Could you imagine James Madison and Bama squaring off in Tuscaloosa?
I can now because Kent State almost beat Georgia.
That's true.
That's the problem we're in, man. That's why people think it's equitable. No, it's not. It's horrible football. Like, Marshall should not beat Notre Dame ever. Sorry. I get it. We deserve to win too. Yeah, you also deserve to hang your participation trophy up in the wall too. And it's like, dog, this is the world we're in now. It's equitable. Bullshit. It's horrible football. Look across the landscape. We have transferring from one school to another 3-4 times in 3 years. There's 4 different ideologies, 4 different philosophies. You wonder why tackling is at an all-time bad. You wonder why injuries are at an all-time high. You wonder why we have no culture and teams are beating, everybody's getting beat on any given weekend because there's no culture in the locker room. We're basically re-coaching, re-teaching every semester at your 4-year institution, respectively. So I'm at Notre Dame in the spring next year. I have a whole new, basically turned over roster, 40 from the portal, new kids who were taught how to tackle from the last coach a certain way. Now I got to reteach that teaching and philosophy and build a culture in my locker room. And then guess what happens in 3 months? 3 of those kids transfer. Now they go to another school. And then guess what happens? 3 more kids transfer into my program in April. Now I'm reteaching those kids. Man, it's a joke. We have no solid foundation, no core values. There's no anything built in these programs. That's why I like what Lance is doing at KU. We're kind of just using the portal accordingly. We're not taking a million of them. That's why I do see SCs and Oregons and all these schools that are 30 out the portal. I just see this imploding. Now, I will say, players win games, coaches lose them. Usually the more talented rosters win. They figure a way out if they have half bought into the coach and the system. So if you can get that with the greatest talent on the roster out there, then you can still win. That's just how cold this business is. But the 99% of these guys are not going to win, and you can get beat any weekend by a James Madison, by a App State, by those guys. So 12 playoffs teams are it's ridiculous. It's the dumbest shit I've heard. It's all about money. I did the whole thing the other day on it. You know, the first 4, okay, you give them a bye. Give them the first 4 a bye, and then let's play the rest of them, right? 8, 9, go on down. And then those teams are going to play. So now you're going to get a 9 or whatever to win. And then they're still going to play Alabama at the 1 seed. And then you're like, okay, so this is going to be a 50-point game. Or is it so watered down where James Madison now can hang with Alabama? And if that's the case, we got a bigger problem, Houston, and we need to just give it up.
I agree. Thank you so much, Coach. Tell everybody I know they know who you are, where they can follow you, but just in case they don't, tell everybody where they can catch all your stuff, Coach.
Man, I'm just a slapdick, man. CoachJBStore.com, and then my YouTube at Coach JB, the Coach JB Show. And then you can get any merch, my whiskey, my cigars launch actually next week. CoachJBStore.com, but the YouTube channel is Coach JB, the Coach JB Show, and that's getting big, man. So we're there. And at Twitter at @therealcoach_JB.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Coach.
We'll see you. All right, that's the real Coach JB joining us. Man, I love that dude, man. He's so good at what he does.
Got so much to say too. It's the insight, the Brian Harsin stuff. I wasn't even expecting. I didn't know
I tell you what, though, the South needed to hear him say that.
Yeah.
Because listen, we don't know who he is.
Yeah.
In our discussion, me and you about Coach Harsin, is kind of the same thing that he just said. Like, he seems like, speaking of it, he seems like a shitty dude.
Seems like a
really,
dickhead. That's
truthfully.
why they don't like him.
Right. Rudy Poo. All right, Joe. It's 11:02. We kind of went long today, but it's okay. What is Joe doing now? We're going to watch Kentucky Ole Miss. That's what we're doing.
We're going to watch Kentucky Ole Miss, and I got to deal with crap with my car. But I'm getting a bagel. I just got to get the brake pads replaced. So I got to waste an hour of my day. Nothing's wrong with it. I just got to get them replaced. So I got to waste an hour out of my day.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal, Joe. Like, not being able to brake.
Okay, it's like the timing. I have to do it after a certain amount of miles. It's not like I tried to brake and I crashed and I had to get them replaced.
It's not as if they're screeching every time you roll around, right?
They might be a little bit.
Okay, you need to go get them changed now. You're past that. Okay, don't die. Okay,
easier said than done.
I don't want another co-host. I don't want another co-host. All right,
That's how
guys,
I make it.
Well, look, my name is Bleav Ruffino. This is Joe DeLeon. Thank you for joining us. We'll see y'all next week, or maybe sooner.
Is that a tease?
Maybe. All right. See y'all soon. Y'all have a good night or have a good day. Peace out, Girl Scouts.